I am so happy to be here with you. I am so grateful for the honor and privilege of representing and serving you, and the honor and privilege of working and fighting alongside you at this critical moment in our republic's history. And we've made history in Georgia in the last few years. It was the night of January 5th, 2021. You remember it? When the state of Georgia, with our complex history, as the heart of the old Confederacy and the cradle of a civil rights movement, stood up and sent to the U.S. Senate in one fell swoop the young Jewish son of an immigrant and a black pastor who holds Dr. King's pulpit at Ebenezer Baptist Church. But it was just hours later the next morning when President Trump's mob violently sacked the United States Capitol and hunted the sitting vice president and the Speaker of the House to try to kill them in order to prevent the peaceful transfer of power between a defeated president and an elected president. And I don't know if you saw what happened last night, but the same man whose grievances stirred up that violent mob that sacked the Capitol still cannot let go of his shame and humiliation at having been dealt that defeat by voters here in Georgia and across the country. And so at a moment when his war spirals out of control and prices for American families climb higher and higher, instead of focusing on the nation's needs, as always, he nurses his grievances. As always, he forces the rest of us to help him process his shame. As always, he centers his own fear of the accountability that he will face when we win decisively this fall. That's what we saw last night. But what we also saw last night was a clear signal of this president's intent to unconstitutionally wield federal power to attack this election and to undermine voting rights. And he's done it before. There's one man who tried to commit election fraud in the state of Georgia in that 2020 election, and it was Donald Trump when he called up Georgia's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger. Do you all remember the call? Yeah. And he demanded that Brad, quote, find him the exact number of votes he needed to win in a state that he had lost. That was fraud. That was an attempt to throw out your votes, to seize the presidency. So we have to expect that once again, he will try to throw out our votes, that once again, he will attack elections and voting rights here in Georgia. But what a mistake he is making, coming to the cradle and the heart of the civil rights movement to attack voting rights. Our answer will be massive. Our answer will be decisive. We won't just restore checks and balances for the next 2 years. We will rebuke him so decisively that no president will dare try this kind of brazen corruption and abuse again for centuries. Now, it has been a deep honor to work alongside so many of you to serve and deliver for Northwest Georgia. And I want you to know that for far too long, no matter which party has been in power, it's been Metro Atlanta and not smaller cities and rural parts of Georgia that have gotten the love and attention that you deserve. And Raphael and I together have worked to change that. Okay? Together, Senator Warnock and I delivered the funding to get that new mobile mammography unit for Atrium Floyd so women can get breast cancer screenings across Northwest Georgia. Together, Senator Warnock and I delivered the funding to upgrade the emergency room up at Atrium Chattooga. Okay, together we delivered the funding to help start building that new hospital up in Ringgold, Common Spirit, that's going to finally opening a new hospital in the state of Georgia where we've lost 21 hospitals in 20 years. Together we passed legislation to attract the investment that's built those new solar factories in Cartersville and Dalton. Together we passed the bipartisan infrastructure law, and this never would have happened if Georgia had not sent us to the Senate, and it has delivered to Northwest Georgia more than $400 million in infrastructure investment, including $55 million for Floyd County alone. That matters. The quality of our infrastructure matters. But we have our work cut out for us moving forward, because despite that progress, what have we seen in the last year? The biggest Medicaid cut in American history. Now just think about this. When you think about Medicaid, half of all births in Georgia are covered by Medicaid. 40% of all children in Georgia are covered by Medicaid. 70% of all Georgia seniors in nursing homes are covered by Medicaid. And Donald Trump and Mike Collins slashed Medicaid for what? To give the very wealthiest Americans in corporate America yet another tax break. You don't get to claim that you're fighting for working families in Georgia when you defund hospitals and nursing homes to cut taxes for the rich. And that's exactly what they've done. It's a corrupt agenda. They didn't just slash Medicaid. They attacked the Affordable Care Act. And as a result, in the last 5 months alone, more than 300,000 Georgians have lost their health insurance altogether. I heard from a woman in her mid-50s who waits tables for a living in the middle of a breast cancer fight who told me she was going to lose her coverage in the middle of chemo. 300,000 have lost their coverage altogether. More than 1 million Georgians have seen their health insurance premiums double or worse because of what Mike Collins and Donald Trump did. In a state where, as I said, we've already lost 21 hospitals in 20 years, where our state's refusal to expand Medicaid has deepened the maternal health crisis and the healthcare crisis across Georgia for so many years. We have our work cut out for us to repeal those Medicaid cuts, to restore those Affordable Care Act benefits, and to ban these insurance companies from denying or delaying you the health care you need when you need it. A word about Mike Collins. See, there's a reason Brian Kemp worked so hard to try to beat Mike Collins in the Republican primary. At least the coach would have been an honorable opponent. Mike Collins is known, even among Georgia Republicans, as a man of low integrity and poor character. Mike Collins is a bigot and an anti-Semite who has no business running for the United States Senate. And by the way, has anyone seen Mike Collins? Where's Mike? Mike's hiding. Mike won't answer questions. Why won't Mike answer questions right now? Because we just learned that his office was briefing Nick Fuentes and prominent white supremacists on his office's efforts on behalf of a Holocaust denier. And then we learned that a neo-Nazi propagandist has been working from and based on Mike Collins' property with Mike Collins' knowledge, and Mike Collins refuses to answer whether he's been paying this neo-Nazi propagandist. Mike Collins needs to come out of hiding and answer those questions, because Georgians deserve to know the answers to those questions while he seeks election to the United States Senate. But we're going to defeat Mike Collins decisively this fall. And let me be clear about this. Our coalition goes far beyond political party. This is not just a campaign for Democrats. This is not just a statewide coordinated effort for Democrats. This is a campaign for everybody who longs for sanity, and competence and ethics in American government again. This is a campaign for everybody who recognizes the need for new ideas and new politics, who recognizes that the depth of corruption in our political system, corruption that afflicts both political parties, has turned public policy against the interests of working class and middle class people. This is a campaign for people in rural areas and suburban areas and urban areas. This is a campaign for people in every corner of our state. We welcome all to this coalition, a coalition that will win, and the work you're going to do today is essential to that victory. So tell me, Rome, are you ready to work?